The story I'm going to tell you is one I discovered years ago. I searched for it for so long that I might end up forgetting it. And I even came to think that maybe I had imagined it all. But several months ago, a friend and colleague to whom I had already told this story several times wrote to me on his social network, and he sent me a link where I found the Holy Grail I had been longing for so long. He then asked if this was the story I had been searching for all these years. And to my great surprise, it really was. I was happy and truly surprised at that moment, because this story had almost become an urban legend for me. It was so elusive. Yet, it was right there, just before my eyes, so it wasn't a legend but truly a reality. For obvious privacy reasons, all the names have been changed. The only things left to change are the facts themselves. This happened in France, more precisely in Toulouse, in the year 1914. An antique dealer, whom we will call Joshua, discovers a mysterious painting while he was walking through a flea market, a kind of canvas on which there was a perfectly black rose. After buying it, the poor man will die in perfectly atrocious circumstances. And that, only a week later. The documents I am going to cite to you regarding this case will be sorted in this order. The report from the Toulouse Gendarmerie, as well as the official statement, the victim's autopsy report, Joshua's diary, the Court of Appeal's decision, and the indictment. And finally, the conclusion of this sordid story. So to begin, I will read you the report from the Gendarmerie that discovered Joshua's lifeless body. Since it was written in rather old French, I took care to simplify it so that everything would be as understandable as possible. We, the undersigned Jeff and Aldrine, gendarmes at the Toulouse residence, went to the home of Mr. Drouet to confirm his death. We entered the kitchen where the scene had taken place and found that the body of Joshua was half naked, lying in a pool of his own blood. Next to him was a strange painting depicting a black rose, as well as the victim's diary. The rose in the painting appeared to have been made using human fingernails. There was also a rifle and a stick just 1 meter away from the victim. Wood fragments, likely from the stick, were strewn everywhere. This seemed to indicate that the stick had been used shortly before his death, probably in an attempt to defend himself against something. The victim's face was horribly disfigured and had several holes in it. Not far from him, lying in the blood, were 4 of his teeth. Evidence indicates Joshua vigorously defended himself against his attacker. Although no shots were fired, the torn clothes and the mess around him proved that he tried to fight off his attacker by any means at his disposal. After this observation, we conducted our investigation, which allowed us to note the following. The third step of the staircase leading to the first floor of the house was stained with blood, while smaller, more discreet spots were found on the first steps. After examining the scene, theft seems unlikely as there appears to be no damage to Mr. Drouet's property. Except for the kitchen, everything else in the house seems perfectly unchanged. I will now read the official report prepared by the Toulouse District Examining Magistrate. I, L. Montgomery, Examining Magistrate of the Toulouse District, informed that a murder without theft had occurred in the city involving the person of Joshua Drouet. I immediately went to the scene at exactly 10:30 p.m., accompanied by Mr. Dennis, sworn clerk, as well as Mr. Sanyo, on behalf of the Public Prosecutor's Office, to make all necessary observations and take appropriate measures to find the perpetrator or perpetrators of the murder of Joshua Drouet. The victim's body was lying in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor on the ground level of the house. The sergeant, who was already at the scene, informed us that they had discovered a strange painting, a notebook that served as his diary, as well as a stick probably made from a pickaxe handle, and finally, a rifle near the victim's body. Reading the diary allowed us to learn more about Mr. Drouet's past week, as well as his many problems at night. It seems, according to his writings, that he suspected his neighbors of all these misfortunes. There was no trace of a burned canvas, as had been mentioned on one of the pages of the diary. The one that was found near his body was perfectly intact. We consequently proceeded to question the 10 neighbors, then we carried out surveillance of the neighborhood to ensure that the crime scene remained intact. We then went to Dr. Gill, the court physician, to arrange with him the time at which the autopsy could be performed. It must have been around 1 o'clock in the morning. Now we will move on to the full autopsy report of Mr. Joshua Drouet. July 1st, 1914. I, the undersigned Mr. Gilles, Professor of Forensic Medicine at the University of Toulouse, appointed by order of Mr. Montgomery, examining magistrate for the Civil Court of Toulouse, dated June 15th, 1914, Anno Domini. He is to perform an autopsy on the body of Mr. Drouet to determine the nature of his injuries as well as the cause of his death. I went to the town where the body of Mr. Drouet is located, and thus I fulfilled the mandate that had been entrusted to me in the presence of the examining magistrate as well as the public prosecutor. The body of Mr. Drouet had been found behind the front door of his house, about 60 centimeters from the stairs and the door leading to his workshop. He was lying on his right side, his right arm stretched out horizontally, and his left hand was placed where his heart was. The body had been covered with torn clothes, especially on the lower part. The entire corpse was lying in a large pool of blood, especially abundant around the head. But the blood spread far beyond his head, reaching up to 60 centimeters from him in a thick stream. It was about 5 centimeters wide. Under his head were several gaping holes, as well as numerous deep scratch marks, all heavily stained with blood. Next to the right shoulder, perpendicular to the arm, were 4 broken teeth. Finally, the victim's neck was scratched from side to side, but not deeply enough for the theory of a throat slitting to be possible. The second, third, and fourth steps of the staircase leading to the first floor were stained with dried blood, and bloody traces were visible on the wall supporting the staircase. The blood also seemed to have splattered against the front door panel. Through the left corner of the house, I also noticed a small pool of blood that seemed to indicate the struggle had continued up to this point. The body is now on a makeshift little table where we were able to perform the autopsy. As a result, we managed to reveal some useful findings. 5 bloody holes are visible on the shoulder, as well as deep laceration marks all over the rest of the body. All the clothes covering the upper part of Mr. Drouet's body are heavily soaked in blood. With the victim's body now naked for the autopsy, we were able to observe 50 notable facts regarding his death. Fact number 1. On his face, there is a large gash running from the outer corner of the right eye to his ear. This wound is particularly straight and clean. Fact number 2. The victim's right eye is largely, and who dares. And fact number 3. The left one, on the other hand, is burst, pierced in several places. Fact number 4. The upper lip is deeply slashed and thus forms 2 or 3 flaps, separated at their ends. These divisions extend up to the left wing of his nose, which is itself also widely split. The bones of his nose, on the other hand, are fractured in several places. Fact number 5. Several teeth were broken, 3 of them chipped and 4 missing, which were found near the victim's body. Fact number 6. His chin was cut at an angle and the wound is about the full thickness of his skin. Fact number 7. The victim's forehead and left eyebrow were cut on the sides, and the trace of this wound suggests that a very sharp object was used to make it. Fact number 8. A long jagged wound about 14 centimeters is also found on the left cheek of Mr. Drouet. Fact number 9. On the left side of the forehead area, more precisely where the eyebrows are located, and extending to the temple, I noticed a star-shaped wound, fairly rounded at its edges. I also noticed in this area many deep scratch marks. Fact number 10. A deep wound with jagged edges was found on the left ear, and a little further back on the side of the neck I also noticed a wound of the same kind, about 5 centimeters long. Even further back, his neck was almost scalped, so that the scalp was coming away from the skull. In this whole area, the location of the wound seems to indicate that 4 blows were delivered to the victim's neck with sharp objects such as nails or claws. Fact number 11. Something sharp also pierced the chin on the left side, going through the tongue. It roughly penetrated the inner wall, then exited on the right side, about 3 centimeters below the ear. Fact number 12. On the left arm, the cubital region is torn by wounds ranging from 3 to 8 centimeters in length. They were made by sharp objects, once again by nails or claws. Fact number 13. On the left wrist, there are 2 wounds similar to scratches, measuring 3 and 5 centimeters in length. Fact number 14. On the right hand, the thumb is held only by a thin layer of skin, which itself is affected by a very deep cut. Fact number 15. There is also a fracture of the left facial skin. The body was then opened. The cavities were thoroughly examined, as well as the organs contained within them. The brain is intact, the lungs also appear normal. There is no effusion in the pleura, and the heart does not contain any blood either. The carotid arteries are not opened. A deep cut passes in front of the left carotid artery, having completely opened the larynx, and ends on the right side, behind the victim's carotid artery. The stomach contains 300 to 400 grams of pulpy, reddish, highly acidic material, which appears to be mixed with digestive juices. A countless number of arteries and veins have been opened, which cause significant hemorrhaging. It is this countless number of scratches, cuts, lacerations, and perforations that caused this severe hemorrhage. And it is also this rapid blood loss that led Mr. Drouet to his death. In summary, Mr. Joshua Drouet succumbed to a major hemorrhage as a result of his countless injuries. It is difficult to explain by whom or by what all these injuries were caused. I found that all these wounds could have been caused by fingernails, but it's very difficult to think that a human could do something of such magnitude. Now, it's time to move on to one of the most disturbing elements of this case. The victim's diary. First entry Sunday, June 7th, 1914. I went to the city's flea market today, and I have to say, sometimes you find some curious things there. For 3 francs, I bought a curious item, a strange painting. I have to say, I've never seen anything like it. The painting seemed to be made with watercolor. The seller, on his part, couldn't tell me what it was made of. But what makes this canvas strange is the nails that make it up, human nails. The seller couldn't tell me when or even where it came from either. Its peculiarity, besides being made with nails, was that strangely, this cursed canvas smelled like roses. It wasn't signed by any artist, and the only writing on the painting was on the back of it. It was written there, Rose du Détroit. I also bought a beautiful fishing painting for 6 francs that could please a friend. Other than that, there was nothing really original. I'm afraid that with this bad weather, the sellers knew there wouldn't be many people, and probably didn't put everything out on their tables. We'll see next time. Second entry, Monday, June 8, 1914. I saw Martine today. She retrieved her clock. This is the last time I do business with her, or fix anything for her. Mr. Bedeau will come tomorrow, according to his wife. I'll have to get up very early again. Third entry, Wed, June 10, 1914. I'm not used to writing at night, but something really strange and disturbing happened. I woke up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep. I'm really cold. I probably let my arm hang off the side of the bed, and I'm sure something grabbed it tightly while I was sleeping. It woke me up immediately, and my whole body was freezing. It's like someone right under my bed grabbed it to hurt me. I also smelled a strong odor of urine. At first I thought I had wet myself, but it clearly wasn't coming from my bed. It was coming from that nail-covered canvas. It smells especially strong now. The neighbor's cat must have soiled it, with the waste soaking into all the paper. Because of that, the whole house smells like urine. I put it outside, under a shelter, and I hope that smell will eventually go away. 3 francs is 3 francs, and I can easily get a better price from an eccentric. Meanwhile, the pervasive smell of urine lingers and refuses to dissipate. My wrist aches, and I feel chilly. Damn cat. Fourth entry, Thursday, June 11, 1914. Madame Estelle only bought 1 tobacco grinder from me. People place orders with you and then end up not buying everything. In the meantime, that's 10 francs out of my own pocket that I had to pay, and now I have an extra tobacco grinder. However, I sold the Marseillaise's trunk for 133 francs, a good deal. Madame Lamada took the 3 rams she had ordered from me for 12 francs. The canvas with nails now smells like roses, not urine anymore. I thought of showing it to Mr. Vechet. He may be interested. I'm really glad that urine smell is gone. Fifth entry, June 12th, 1914. Friday, June 12th, 1914. Last night, I was startled awake by shrill noises. I also had a terrible migraine, and once again I was freezing. I went down the stairs, because the noises seemed to be coming from downstairs. It was like someone sharpening a blade on a big grindstone, or like fingernails scraping on a chalkboard. At first, I thought it was the neighbor making a terrible racket, but it stopped when I got to the shed. James told me he was sleeping with Yvette at 3 Antimeridiem when I saw him during the day. They would never tinker at such an hour. I really don't like this. All of this is starting to scare me. I had a really bad night. 6th entry. Saturday, June 13th, 1914. It grabbed my wrist again, and there's a strong smell of blood. I was woken up at 3 o'clock. The smell made me panic. It smelled like blood all over the house. And once again, it was coming from that damn painting. Even worse, there were red stains oozing from the painting. Could it be blood? If with the rain and humidity the blood turned, that would explain everything, but definitely not that smell. The lack of sleep might be making me imagine things and go crazy. It's also given me migraines all week. Now it's worse. My wrist is in pain and I'm unable to sleep. The neighbors told me they hadn't killed any animals and that if it smelled like blood, it wasn't coming from their place. And they gave me that look I don't like. When someone pretends to understand but judges you at the same time, while thinking you're an idiot or crazy, or even worse, a liar. It smelled like blood everywhere. I discarded the canvas and lost the 3 francs. I need some rest after this damn week. I'm scared and I'm tired. I can't take it anymore. 7th entry, Sunday, June 14th, 1914. The canvas is back. It was in the shed. This time, it was laughter that woke me up. The noises resumed around 3:30 Antimeridiem and the stench of blood and urine permeated the air. In the shed she was there, she was oozing. I'm really scared. I fear it might be something the neighbors did. Tomorrow, I'll go see the police. At that spot on the page, there was a big scribble, and the victim's handwriting had become slightly different. I just got back from the police station, and they really made fun of me. My complaint isn't admissible. I'll see the prefect. And I'm not gonna let this story drive me completely crazy. Meanwhile, I've stopped talking to the neighbors. I lock up the entire house, keeping the canvas in the cellar. In case it needs to be used as evidence, I took out the rifle. I can't sleep anymore. 8th entry, Monday, June 15, 1914. Sharp noises woke me up. My head still hurts. I have scratch marks all over my wrist. It smells like blood and piss all around me. I sleep with the rifle. On the next page, which appears to document events from the same day, the writing is heavily crossed out. I slept the entire day. I burned the canvas and now I'm freezing. Jesus, Mary, Joseph, save me. Now the following document is the indictment written by the Court of Appeal of Toulouse. June 14th, 1914. Mr. Drouet, who ran a cafe restaurant in the 2nd district, informed the local police that there was trouble. When he got home, he seemed to be haunted by strange noises and mysterious phenomena, such as unusual smells at night and attacks while he slept. His complaint was dismissed, as no apparent crime had been committed, and the entire matter seemed absurd. On June 15th, the city police went to his home and found his lifeless body. At first, they suspected some kind of fainting, but upon entering, they found him lying in a pool of blood. His face was horribly mutilated and several teeth had been broken. Blood had also splattered against the front door panel. A quick examination of the scene revealed that there was a canvas and a personal journal near him. The journal illuminated Mr. Drouet's previous week, and on the doubts he expressed about his neighbors. The description of the suspects was immediately given to the police and the city gendarmes, and the neighbors were charged with the murder of Mr. Drouet. Joshua! He has denied the accusation since the interrogation began. The medical examiner who performed the autopsy found nearly 15 wounds on the head, injuries that inevitably caused his death. Due to Mr. Drouet's significant hemorrhage, numerous human origin scratches were also observed all over the rest of the victim's body. The neighbors interviewed also mentioned that Mr. Drouet had come to them several times to talk about his problems, but insisted that he was not to blame. The complaints against his neighbors are indeed mentioned in the victim's journal, given the fact that he was not known to have any enemies, as well as the absence of evidence at the crime scene. Beyond his diary's mention of personal issues, one may consider irresponsibility as a factor. At the request of their lawyer, Mr. Drouet's neighbors were examined by a doctor. The latter admitted that when the crime occurred, neither accused could have caused such injuries with their fingernails. Their spotless criminal record works in their favor, as they have never been convicted. As a result, the victims' neighbors were completely exonerated of having committed the murder of Drouet. Joshua, June 12, 1914. As a result, the circumstances of this homicide remain unresolved. Done at the office of the Court of Appeals on January 7, 1915. That concludes the files for this case. To this day, there has never been a rational explanation for all that transpired. And the death of Mr. Drouet remains one of the most sordid mysteries. Was it really the neighbors' doing, or was it madness that drove Mr. Drouet to the brink of death? If so, how was all of this possible, knowing that all the doors and windows of his house were closed? How could someone who was perfectly sane the day before lose his mind so quickly and end up inflicting such torment on himself with surgical precision? Or was it simply the painting itself that was responsible, inhabited by a force that even the most tormented minds could not conceive? We will probably never know. You should always be wary of the stories you hear, because for many of them, they are just fiction. They're only there to scare you and keep you from sleeping. But in the case of the Rose of the Strait, it's different. Besides the story's horrific nature, a detail alters our entire perception of the events. A detail that, however, fits into just 2 short sentences. This story is actually called The Rose of the Guedelona, and everything you just heard is a true story.